Good evening. My name is Ashlyn Luisi, and today I will be arguing that due to national security concerns, the United States should intervene militarily if China attacks Taiwan. U.S. intervention is absolutely necessary to maintain credibility and trust with allies such as Japan, South Korea, and NATO partners. Taiwan is a democratic state situated at the center of the first island chain in the Western Pacific. Its geographical location is crucial for controlling access to the Pacific Ocean, making it a keystone in both regional and global security. Early intervention in China's forceful annexation would prevent further expansion and larger conflicts from occurring. Additionally, intervention helps preserve international order by discouraging aggressive territorial takeovers from any other world powers. U.S. intervention is not only necessary for the preservation of Taiwan, but it is a matter of protecting U.S. security, supporting allies, and keeping the maintenance of overall world peace. To begin, let us establish the deterrence and credibility that the U.S. is responsible for. The credibility of the U.S. as a global power really depends on its willingness to honor commitments and respond appropriately to aggression. Failing to intervene in a Chinese attack would be perceived as a sign of weakness by major adversaries, including China, Russia, and Iran. A historical example in the US response, or lack thereof, I should say, is seen during the early stages of World War II, when the policy of appeasement towards Axis expansion signaled to aggressors that challenges to the international order could go unchecked. Similarly, inaction today would undermine the trust of key allies such as Japan, South Korea, and NATO partners. Trust is the absolute foundation of alliances. If alliances believe the US would not act when its commitments are tested, they may seek independent security measures, or, even worse, drift towards other world powers, potentially even those adversaries of the US. This, in turn, would destabilize the current and already, should I say, incredibly fragile international order. By intervening, the U.S. clearly establishes that aggression comes with serious consequences, further reinforcing its credibility and the reliability of alliances in maintaining regional and global security. It is also important to acknowledge the geographical importance. Taiwan's location along the first island chain gives it a strategic significance that cannot be overstated. Losing Taiwan would allow China to expand its military reach and establish bases closer to pre-existing U.S. military bases in the Pacific, such as those in Okinawa, Japan, and Guam. This would directly threaten freedom of navigation through critical waterways like the Taiwan Strait and the South China Sea, which together carry over $5 trillion in global trade annually. This territorial gain would be detrimental as the proximity would threaten freedom of navigation, regional trade, and U.S. operations in the event of future conflicts. Military intervention not only protects Taiwan, but it also preserves the strategic balance in East Asia and ensures that vital sea lanes remain secure for global commerce. Additionally, early intervention can prevent further conflicts. History has demonstrated time and time again that appeasement often emboldens aggressors. For example, the policy of appeasement towards Nazi Germany in the 1930s failed to prevent further territorial expansion and is ultimately what led to World War II. If China were to annex Taiwan without challenge, it would very likely be encouraged to expand even further, escalating tensions and increasing the risk of widespread war. By acting decisively, the U.S. reduces this likelihood of prolonged conflict. It protects regional stability and it preserves the safety of its allies and its shared interests. Opponents of intervention argue that military action would risk nuclear war. However, a credible deterrence demonstrated by a willingness to respond reduces the long-term risk of nuclear conflict by discouraging aggression at its root. A relevant example can be seen in the Cold War. The U.S. commitment to defend Western Europe through NATO's nuclear and conventional forces prevented the Soviet Union from attempting direct military action in the region. This illustrated how credible deterrence maintains stability. The alternative of inaction actually invites significantly more instability and drastically increases the chance of uncontrolled escalation in the future, as adversaries may perceive weakness and test the U.S. resolve in critical regions such as the Pacific. Arguably, one of the most important points that there is to make is the consideration of preserving international order. A core argument here is that maintaining a stable international order is essential. By allowing forceful annexation of territory without consequence, it normalizes aggression. If the US fails to respond, it creates a precedent that territorial annexation is acceptable. However, intervention reinforces existing norms against aggression, and it upholds the principle that territorial disputes must be resolved peacefully, not through violent force. By intervening, the U.S. strengthens the rules-based international system and deters similar behavior from other regions. In conclusion, the United States military intervention in the event of a Chinese attack on Taiwan is not merely a policy choice, but it is a strategic necessity for national security, regional stability, and the credibility of U.S. alliances. Intervention ensures that U.S. maintains deterrence against annexation, it maintains its trust with allies, it protects critical geographic and economic interests, it prevents the mobilization of aggressors, and most of all, it upholds the international norms that are essential to the preservation of global order. History has taught us time and time again that hesitation in the face of aggression is a choice between further conflict and resolution. By acting decisively, the U.S. establishes that aggression will have consequences. It strengthens ally security, it safeguards the Pacific. Ultimately, protecting Taiwan is not just about defending a single state. It is about defending the stability, integrity, and shared security that are the foundation of the international system itself. Thank you.